Hope my screen is visible to everyone. So the next guide is Experience Manager Desktop App Best Practices. So we know that desktop app provides a digital asset management integration solution with AEM, so that the enterprise users can actually access the AEM assets and everything from their local desktop itself, like a Dropbox desktop solution. So it's easy to use workflow is enabled using network share technology that actually any desktop operating systems will provide network share technology. That's the same thing which they have used to create a solution between desktop app and digital asset management. Okay. And this guides provides us a detailed step-by-step integration between the AEM and also user local system. Okay. So it connects the repositories and desktop applications like Word, document, all of that, and also include the Adobe third-party ones for faster access to resources and workflows. Okay, so they can actually access the workflows also and resources also through this option. Okay, and using the app, the assets within the workflow access are accessible on your local desktop directly. Okay. So basically, um, the time which we need for opening the AEM, logging in, going through workflow, selecting the asset, all of that, everything will be not there as part of desktop app. We can actually access the resources faster, and then we can streamline the workflows also. Okay, so basically on your local desktop, we can edit the assets directly on the desktop applications itself. Okay, it is actually available for AEM to do offline work. They can do it, they can integrate it, and then they can the this thing, and they can integrate with Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, all the Creative Cloud tools using a Adobe Asset Link. Okay, it's an customization configuration which can be used for actually um, getting all the integrations. Okay, Adobe Asset Link, how do we connect and everything. Okay, so that is another option. Okay, so there is a separate documentation which they have created for the desktop app entire thing, and then all of that is available as a independent separate information channel which can be seen here, like what is new in the app. Okay, and what are the release notes, like what are the features which is supported. Okay, if we are actually not new to the desktop, we can just learn from the previous version. And then how do we can configure, install, and run it. Okay, and how do we browse, discover, edit, upload, resolve conflicts, do bulk operations, all of that. So there is a clear cut documentation, step by step implementation approach for everything in desktop app documentation. So, as part of the desktop app, so let's see the basic um things which are there in the install and configuration step. Can you, how do you use the app is more useful? So I'll go through that. So, as you can see, once we open the desktop app, okay, it will show like this. Okay, discover and search, open and view, reveal and place, edit and upload, bulk updates. And then how do it works and all? I mean, I think this is like a kind of POC which we can do as part of desktop app integration, and it is basically for the authors, the marketing people, to manage their activities daily for better productivity instead of just be on AEM and do everything. Okay, so that is the advantage. So, Experience Manager desktop app best practices are given in the new version, and then best practices are like integration and everything. All of that we can do. And next thing which we can cover as part of this is Creative Cloud integration best practices. So, as part of AEM assets best practices, these are actually not needed to know about Creative Cloud integration best practices. But since the assets which we are getting into AEM can be edited in the Creative Cloud, can be downloaded from the Creative Cloud, let's see if there are anything which we can learn as part of Creative Cloud integration best practices. Okay. And for AEM as cloud service, there is one article. AEM as 6.5, this is another article. Okay. Um, so they have done based on the support, how you can integrate. For creating users, actually for discovering assets from Experience Manager, open, use them, edit, upload. Suppose you are a Photoshop editor, you wanted to know the assets from AEM and also open, use, edit, and upload new. What offering, Adobe offering, which we can use is Adobe Asset Link. Okay, it can integrate with Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe InDesign. Okay, this is the integration path which you can use. And for business users, for opening assets, editing, uploading directly in the Experience Manager, so that they can use desktop environment and they need a generic asset type, they can use desktop app. And we have seen how the desktop app can integrate with the Experience Manager through network sharing option of the Windows. And from the network sharing option, we can access the everything from AEM as a separate desktop application, and then we can push the changes as well. Okay. And then next is how we can actually use discover, preview, license, save Adobe stock assets from within the Experience Manager. There is a Adobe stock integration separately done. Okay, so this is the workflow. Creative user only working on Photoshop, Creative Cloud, all of that, they will use asset link. Business user, they will use desktop link, and market and business user, they use stock integration. Okay, and this is the combination of which login is provided in which asset and all of that. Okay. Apart from that, we have other asset solutions like Brand Portal, which can be a software as service on Experience Manager assets for publishing the assets. Okay, it's a separate license tool, Brand Portal, and is actually basically we will have presets, post sets based on the URLs. We will have different images and then configurations for all of that, and that is actually being used for integration of like Scene 7 also is one more cloud based URL for providing custom editions and all of that. Okay, and then we have asset share commons code base where we can create custom solutions for asset to different APIs, and then link share for using links that will be shared as AEM assets, and then assets web interface. Okay, we have assets web interface for fetching the data and all of that. Okay, so this is about the cloud creative cloud integration and desktop best practices. And in morning we have covered performance tuning guide, asset sizing guide, asset migration guide, and also network considerations and monitoring. And
So,
yeah,
one question.
yeah.
What is the main difference between asset share and link share?
Link share is for the external links. Asset share is for the exporting the asset.
Link means that external asset URL or it's
Yeah. It's externalizer URL.
okay.
Yeah. So these are the things which we would wanted to cover for the first 2 hours session. Okay, and as the content here is more, we covered like a little a half an hour more, and the next part, which is part of class afternoon session, is content versioning and rollback, tagging and metadata management, asset processing workflows. So asset processing workflows, which we covered as part of effect content workflow, we have seen, and there are few other workflows which we wanted to cover as part of asset processing as well, which I can discuss now. Okay. First, we will take care of content versioning and rollback. So basically, yeah.
One question on dynamic media integration, suppose on-premises to like cloud migration.
Yeah.
So, do we have like a specific documentation on that?
Yes,
Like,
yes, we do have.
or if you're going to cover that, but I mean somehow like,
So
for the
integration, yeah,
on-premises, like,
integration is a separate activity. Okay, here we are covering
right.
the certification topics. We are not covering everything related to the project delivery, related to different tools.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay.
Okay,
So you mean
if
to
that
say
is,
like
yeah,
it's
if that
not
is
kind of
needed, I can cover once all the content is covered. Definitely.
mm. Just wanted to know one aspect, like if someone is already using a dynamic media sets in terms of like on-premises 6.5 and they're looking for the migration to the cloud.
Yeah.
So, what are like the usual steps that we need to take care in terms of like dynamic media, like
The
suppose
best
since
part
you're into
is dynamic media 6.5 integration is different. Dynamic media AEM as cloud service is different, because in cloud service
right.
you can directly connect dynamic media classic automatically.
Hmm.
Okay, and
Mhm.
all the features are available. But on the premise, you need to install the bundle. You need to make sure the configurations are set up, and
Mhm.
then you need to make sure it is available.
Okay. Okay. Fine.
Yeah, sure. So in this class, we will discuss about working with page versions. So version means a specific point of time. What is the content of a particular experience or page? Okay. Let's take it's a snapshot of page at a specific point in time. Basically, with version, we can actually do page versions, and also if we want to revert to a particular version previous, then we can do, and then we can actually highlight the differences between multiple versions if we use that, and how do we can create a version. Okay. In the timeline rail, we have a version option. So in the page, you can select the page and then open timeline. Okay, in the left side, there is a timeline, and then on the timeline, we can actually create a new version. Okay, and then we can actually save that, and then we can provide label and comment and confirm, and then create it. Okay. So that is how we can actually create directly on the AEM. This is actually same for AEM 6.5, AEM as cloud also. But how do we do it with a selected resource? Okay. In selection mode, we can actually select the site with going to the site and then going to the corresponding panel, and then we can select the site. So once we select the site in the site mode, we actually select the a particular resource and then create a version. I'll showcase. It's taking a little time. In the timeline, this is done. Huh. From the create, we create version, and then we can add label and comment, and then create it, and then reinstating versions. How do we revert to the new version? So suppose we opened a page, we edited the page, content is available. Now we are saving it in the timeline as a version. And how do you go back to the previous version? In the timeline right itself, we have revert to this version option available in the timeline right, and that we can use. And then if there is a actions toolbar, restore option is also there. So in the timeline itself, you have options for once you actually create a version, it will come as restore and reinstate. All the two options we can use that. Okay, how do we can revert to a version? Okay, we can go to the timeline, show all the versions. Okay, in the timeline, we can actually see all the versions, and then once we see all the versions, we can select the possible version which you wanted to see. Okay, it will show all the and then we can actually revert to that version, and the page will be published from that version itself. Okay. And there is option for restore version also. These are like using the UI. I mean, there is not any theoretical concept which is there. We can see the version. We can select it and then click on restore here. Okay, it will. You can restore a whole tree also, not just one single page and version. You can restore a tree also. You can do. We can go to the select folder, and on the select folder we have restore tree option from the actions toolbar. Okay, and we can see the latest version of the tree, and you can from the latest version you can drop down whatever the other versions which are available, and then we can actually restore them, and then we can set the flag preserved non-version pages. This one, if we select it, any non-version pages are maintained and not impacted by the restore. Okay, that doesn't touch any non-version pages. If inactive, then any non-version pages are there, it will be removed, and they do not exist in the version tree. So this is something which we need to remember. Okay, when we are reverting or reinstating any previous versions for a tree, there is a checkbox where which will tell how do you wanted to treat the inactive, not inactive, unversioned images. If you check it, it will not touch them. Keep them as in the new restoration. If you uncheck it, it will remove them. Only the newer ones will be there. Okay, is this clear? Okay, and then how do we preview a version? We can go and select, and then there is a preview option here, as you can see, and once we click on it, it will show a preview version. um,
One question.
yeah, sure.
Regarding the preview version, I saw sometimes if you have a PDF, and for example, we have 5 pages inside the PDF, and we get a version, and again we upload the same name of one PDF, and we edited the second or third pages of the PDF.
Yeah.
But in preview,
it hardly shows only the first pages of any document.
Right.
It won't show the second or third.
Only thumbnail.
Is there, thumbnail. Is there any way that author can see actually what is there in preview the full content?
No. For that, we need to override out of the box.
Yeah, that versioning you need to override that one.
Yeah, overlay you do, and then component HTML you rewrite to have a thumbnail which takes snapshot of all the pages.
Yeah, means it will be custom one. No? It won't be out of
it
box.
is not out of the box, no custom.
Okay.
When you
Go ahead, your voice is not.
could be like mixed versionable or something.
Sorry.
Hello?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, you're right.
I'm asking about like how this versioning is getting stored, like in terms of like mixed version, how it is keeping track. Like suppose 2 version we have to compare, right? So, or else 2 version it's going to store, right?
It
all the
has
data
its own unique convention. If you go to CRXDA and to that versioning, you will have corresponding bundles having snapshot and number. Same way it will keep for page versions also.
Right. So, okay.
Okay.
It will be stored on your ZCR versioning node
Yeah.
inside testing.
Exactly.
And the type will be frozen node. You cannot edit that one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then timeline option you have compare to current. Compare it to the version which you are actually. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next one is
And
time.
one more thing.
Yeah.
Restoring the version, I saw that one. For example, we have 1.2 version, and we are going to restore it. Then it is creating 1.3 version originally, and that version is going to be new. Here is original. Ideally, it should not be the like 1.2 directly. It will go to original. Instead of this one, we are in out of us. It's creating one more additional version like 1.3.
Of course, because every change is a version. Every edit is a version if you save it.
Okay.
And they'll not have relationship between versions. They are all nodes. Okay.
Yeah, means it will be creating additionally. It won't change the current version.
Yeah, no, it will not. Version itself, consider it as you are taking snapshot. You won't change the snapshot, right? If you are actually moving between snapshots.
Okay.
So next one is time warp. What is time warp? Okay. So time warp is basically you want to see how the page looks as a published state at a specific time in the past. Okay. At that time, which page version is available, and that page version it will take, and then we can see how the published page will be coming. So if you go to the edit, there is a time warp section, and then select the date and time, and you can take a default. Based on that date and time, how at that time the page was looking, it will display for authors, so that they can know if someone has changed something after that or before that.
A quick question.
Yeah.
Is this associated to the versioning, which is already present?
Based on
present,
it will not. Based on the versioning only, it is able to fetch.
And if any of the assets are missing,
As part of the versioning, it got removed. Clear? And at what times time warp shows what content is clearly mentioned, it is read only. You can edit the old version of the page. It is only available for viewing. You cannot edit. Okay. And if you remove a version, it will affect the time warp. It will not show the correct view. The question which you are asking. Okay. And it says it uses page versions, then only it will display the data. Okay. Yeah. Just a second. Yeah, sorry. Another one is based on published pages. If it has a published page at that time, it will perfectly work to display the current page accordingly. So that is the thing about versioning and time warp as part of the page versioning. Okay. And how do we roll back as part of author for different versions and time warp? We can actually check that. Uh, Yeah. So pages that we roll back, but AEM as cloud service, once we have got, there is no separate thing which you roll back anything, because everything is pipelined with a different snapshot. You can roll back to any of the build which you have done to previously, and that will be installed. Okay, that will install the code, mutable and immutable, and at least you have your stage in sync with production. So whatever you wanted to do, you can do on the stage and replicate to production. Okay. So tagging and metadata management. This is a very important topic because tagging and metadata is used extensively for providing behaviors and relationships between content assets and whole authoring experience itself. Okay, so let's go through tagging and meta management. Okay, so how do we do tagging? Okay, so for tagging, we have, as you can see, multiple aspects how we can create tags. Okay, we can actually go to AEM tags, and how do we can create? We can do for each of the sites. If you can see in the content tree, you have multiple sites, right? And in the multiple site, the tag is available, and you selected it, and then you saved and closed it. Now the asset is having that specific tags related to the taxonomy which you have created. Now, different structure under different content path. If you actually go to a specific tag and then search it, uh, you will see whatever you have tagged right now as an asset. Okay, so it actually not only helps the authors, it also can be used for published content to have structure and everything. Okay, and you can do tagging for everything, not just workflows. You can do for experience fragments, assets, everything you can use for tagging. And in tags you will create folder structures and all, I mean, categorized structures, and these categorized structures will be applied to whatever you are adding the corresponding implementation, the structure. Okay, so how do you create a tags? We go to AEM tags, click create namespace. We will add the namespace, and then we can actually click on create. And namespace should be unique. And once we have added the unique namespace and clicked on create, it will create a namespace. Okay, and then under the namespace, start creating a tag now. Okay, he's creating a region, geographic thing, and then inside the region he's creating more and more tags, APAC region and APAC Asia Pacific. And now once he has created the categories and everything in taxonomy for the tags, he will be using them for any of the asset or experience fragment tagging, and then that can be used for searching the asset or finding the asset and fetching the data, all of that. So tagging, there is a API called Tag Manager API, which is the ideal programming interface we use as part of tag management, which will take care of entire implementation related to programmatically accessing tags and everything. Okay. See, tagging by default checks for different namespaces independently. First, under weekend, he created a region and he again created a region outside and it didn't allow. Okay. Now he went to the site, he's selecting a particular asset, and then he will actually open the properties of these site assets. And then in the tags, he's selecting EMEA, Italy, and then he's saving and closing. So now all the assets under this content tree are actually having Asia Pacific. Now you can see if you that is being tagged to the other region also, other region country, right? So it's a smart way of making relation between multiple paths through a specific category. Okay. And we can actually have localization everything added as part of tag, like you can have i18n also use tag manage API, tag manage.i18n, and we can get the tagging concept related to the tag manager.
This namespace creation on cloud side, we do it from some Explorer or some other places, right?
Yeah.
I mean, do we have access of that creation of that namespace?
Sorry.
Like a new namespace creation, do we have access, like, or we need to go with the configuration itself, like on
In cloud, right? In cloud, I think we need to go ahead with configuration.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that is about tagging. Okay. And metadata management is actually one of the good concept in digital asset metadata management. So it is actually have metadata profiles, metadata schemas, metadata rules, which and on a collection of events, all of that. And what is metadata? Is basically data about data. I mean, when we are storing certain data, and if you want to know what we are storing, we will describe this is this I am storing, and that information is called metadata. And suppose you are storing an image, and any data related to that image is called metadata. And normally, what kind of things will be there in data? Name, time, size, folder, related assets. And you can have your custom metadata also. And some more things are type of assets, owner, title, description, tags assigned to asset. These things also will be available. Okay. So why do we use metadata? Because if we know a specific information about what is being stored somewhere, we can actually try to, if we have like 10,000 of different things, if we want to have a particular thing available, we know what is stored where and where to get it. Accessibility will be easier, and also managing of them will be easier, and also the complete information about the data will be clear. So that will be there. And What kind of metadata can be there for a particular asset? Technical metadata, basically file size, format, resolution, dimensions, color mode. These are technical metadata, basically related to the files. Informational metadata, like functional, I would say, keywords, marketing, product launch, promo, description, caption. And administrative metadata, like ownership or um, governance, like asset ownership, usage rights, permissions, other details. Okay. What is metadata last modification date? It defines the new version of the asset is uploaded, and when is the asset processed, and when asset is moved, renamed, checked out, checked in, all the data. And encoding standards, we have multiple encoding standards like XMP, extensible metadata platform. It is actually kind of XML JSON. This is another XMP schema which is used by assets. Okay, normally you might have not used it extensively. So going forward, for all assets related APIs, the exchange platform will be XMP. It is a open standard extensible metadata platform. Okay, and that the same is being used by experience manager assets also for metadata management. And id3, mp3 or other files, exchangeable image file format, exif, these are metadata profiles which are latest, and whenever we get a new file type also, that will be used and then stored. Okay, how do we manage metadata of our assets? We can go to the assets, we can go to the properties tab, and we can see the metadata properties, and then we can author them. And we can select a metadata schema for the assets also. If you want to change the schema, in settings we have option to create schema profile, and then we can add it. And then how do we can create a metadata profile from the schema? So if you go to this is cloud service, yeah, so these are all standards actually, but I was talking about any concepts related to how we can use metadata. So basically metadata schemas and profiles will be helpful and we can use them. And what are the different works in AEM which are being driven by metadata related? Okay, so DAM as update asset metadata, we know, which is actually driven by workflow. There are certain workflows which will check whether an image has title or not, because we don't identify the file if it do not have title. Okay, copyright notice checking workflow is there, which will check whether the copyright allows our distribution or not, and then which will check whether the metadata workflow metadata attached to that is predefined mandatory metadata or invalid metadata. Okay, these things are also be checked as part of metadata. And so in terms of assets, we have assets HTTP API. If you are not aware, it's one thing which we need to use for exporting assets and then integrating all the assets, and search assets, connected assets reports, metadata schemas, download assets. These are all options which are available for all the metadata. But basically, what we need to know about in terms of certification point of view is metadata schema profiles uses XMD, extensible metadata platform for exchange of data. And yesterday we have checked the different file types which are out of the box supported by the assets also. Okay. So that is about the tagging and metadata management, and also content versioning and rollback. Okay. So next class I'll talk more about GraphQL and content fragments, because that is also comes under AEM assets, because we use content fragments for storage and GraphQL for querying the content fragments for fetching. So this is over and above, because it's a theoretical concept which everyone is using it. I wanted to share that knowledge also, and we can do some POC, query, issues, everything on the content fragments and GraphQL also. Okay. We'll take a short break and we'll come back, guys. Is that okay? Yeah. Thank you.